The rain that night was unforgiving. It wasn't a soft, cleansing shower. It was a frigid, stinging downpour that soaked through the thin, moth-eaten coat I was wearing within seconds. I stood on the porch of a mansion that was worth $6 million. A mansion I had paid for brick by brick, deal by deal. My hand trembling not just from the cold, but from a heartbreak so deep it felt like a physical wound, reached out to ring the doorbell. The door opened, warm golden light spilled out, illuminating the expensive marble foyer I knew so well. Marcus, my eldest son, stood there. He was wearing a cashmere sweater that probably cost more than most families spend on groceries in a month. He held a glass of aged scotch in one hand when he looked at me. Shivering, hair plastered to my skull, clutching a battered plastic bag. His face didn't show concern, it didn't show love. It showed pure, unadulterated disgust. "Mother," he hissed, stepping onto the porch but not inviting me in. He looked over my shoulder at the dark street, checking for witnesses. "What on earth are you doing? You look like a beggar. Where's your driver?" "Marcus," I stammered, making my voice sound thin and confused. I let my eyes wander vacantly, playing the part one had rehearsed in my mirror for 3 agonizing days. I don't know where I am. The house. They took the house. I have nowhere to go. I'm cold, Marcus, please." I reached for him, my own son, the boy whose private school tuition was $50,000 a year, the man whose startup I funded when no bank would touch him. He took a step back as if I were contagious. "Oh, for God's sake," he muttered, pulling his phone from his pocket. "You're having one of your episodes. I told Tiffany this would happen. You're losing it. Can I come in?" I whispered, "Just for tonight?" "Please, son," he laughed. A short, sharp sound devoid of humor. "Here? Tonight? Mother, I have the investors from Tokyo arriving in 20 minutes. I can't have a senile, soaking wet old woman wandering around the living room. It would destroy the aesthetic, it would look unstable." "But I'm your mother," I said, allowing a single tear to mix with the rain on my cheek. "And that's why I'm calling you a cab," he replied, tapping furiously on his screen. "I'm sending you to that state facility on 4th Street. They handle indigent cases. I'll sort you out in the morning when my schedule clears. But you cannot stay here." He didn't even wait for the cab. He went back inside and closed the heavy oak door. The lock clicked. The sound of that deadbolt sliding home was the sound of my heart shattering into a million irreparable pieces. "Let me take you back. Let me tell you how a woman worth $80 million ended up standing in the rain, rejected by her own flesh and blood. My name is Eleanor Vance. For 40 years I ruled the commercial real estate market of this city. I was a shark in a skirt, they called me. I built skyscrapers. I revitalized neighborhoods. I was tough, yes, but I did it all for them. For Marcus and for Tiffany. My husband passed away when they were teenagers, leaving me with them. And with Lucas. Lucas was my husband's son from a brief first marriage. I have to confess a sin to you, my dears. I was not a good mother to Lucas. I was never cruel, but I was cold. I focused all my energy, all my money, all my love on my real children. Marcus and Tiffany got the Ivy League schools, the European tours, the sports cars at 16. Lucas got public school and a handshake when he turned 18. I let him drift away. I let him become a stranger because he wasn't mine. But 3 weeks ago, sitting in the library of my penthouse, I overheard a conversation that changed everything. I was supposed to be napping, but I had come down early for tea. Marcus and Tiffany were on the terrace. They didn't know the French doors were open. "She's slipping, Marcus," Tiffany was saying. "She forgot her reading glasses twice this week. If we declare her incompetent now, we can take control of the trust before the fiscal year ends." "I know," Marcus replied, his voice smooth and calculating. "I've already spoken to Dr. Eris. If we put her in that assisted living place, the one up north, we can sell the penthouse and liquidate the portfolio. She won't know the difference, she's just dead weight now, dead weight." That was what I had become to them. Not the mother who kissed their scraped knees. Not the woman who built an empire to ensure they never worked a day in their lives. Just an obstacle between them and a pile of cash. That night I made a decision. I needed to know if there was any humanity left in them. I needed to know if they loved me, or just the checkbook I carried. So I enlisted my lawyer, Mr. Henderson. A good man who has been with me since the first brick was laid. We created a fiction. I would pretend to have lost everything. My mind, my money, my dignity. I would become the burden they feared. I stripped off my diamonds. I put on clothes I bought from a donation bin. A rough wool coat that smelled of mothballs, shoes with worn-out soles. I left my hair unwashed. I stopped wearing makeup, letting the age spots and wrinkles show. I became an old, vulnerable woman. And then I went to test my children. After Marcus closed the door, I waited for the cab he called. When it arrived, I told the driver to take me to the other side of the city, to the trendy downtown loft where Tiffany lived. Tiffany, my daughter, the influencer. The girl who posted photos of family brunch with captions about how much she adored her queen mother, getting thousands of likes from strangers, while barely speaking to me across the table. The rain hadn't stopped. If anything, it was coming down harder. I stood outside her building. It was a converted warehouse, very chic, very expensive. I buzzed her intercom. "Who is it?" Her voice was annoyed. I could hear music in the background. Loud thumping bass. "Tiffany, it's Mom," I cried into the speaker. "Please let me up. I'm sick. I'm lost." There was a pause, then the buzzer sounded. I went up. When the elevator doors opened, Tiffany was waiting in the hallway. She wasn't alone. She had a camera crew with her. A young man was holding a ring light. "Cut the feed." She screamed at the boy when she saw me. She rushed forward, not to hug me, but to block me from the open door of her apartment. "Mom, what the hell is this look?" She gestured frantically at my wet coat. "I have a brand launch party happening inside. Major sponsors are here. You look like a homeless person." "I lost the house, Tiffany," I sobbed, grabbing her arm. "I don't remember where the money went. I think I'm sick. I need a bed. I need my daughter." She pulled her arm away, wiping the sleeve of her silk blouse, as if I had smeared mud on it. "I can't deal with this right now, Mom. Do you know how hard I've worked for this launch? If people see you like this, my brand is dead. Elegant lifestyle doesn't include a senile mother in rags. But I have nowhere to go," I whispered. "It's cold. Go to a hotel." She hissed. "Use your black card." I lost it. "I don't have anything," she groaned, a sound of pure teenage petulance coming from a 30-year-old woman. She reached into her purse and pulled out a $20 bill. "A 20, here, go to the diner down the street, sit there, I'll call someone, maybe Marcus. Just get out of the building before anyone sees you." She turned around and slammed the door. I heard the lock click. Then I heard the music swell again. She went back to her party. She went back to her elegant lifestyle, leaving the woman who gave her life standing in a cold industrial hallway with $20. I walked out of that building feeling lighter strangely. The heaviness of hope was gone. I knew the truth now. My real children were monsters. I had raised them to worship gold, and they had sacrificed me on its altar. I had one name left on my list, Lucas, my stepson, the boy I had ignored, the boy who sent me a card every Christmas and Mother's Day, which I usually opened and forgot within minutes. He lived on the south side of the city, in a neighborhood Marcus would call a war zone, and Tiffany wouldn't be caught dead in. I took a bus. It took an hour. I sat next to a woman who held her sleeping child, and I looked at them with an envy that burned my throat. Lucas lived in a small, crumbling apartment complex. The paint was peeling. There were bars on the windows. I walked up the 3 flights of stairs, my old legs screaming in protest. I knocked on door 3B. It opened almost immediately. Lucas stood there. He looked tired. He was wearing a grease-stained mechanic's jumpsuit. He worked at an auto repair shop. His face was lined with worry, but when he saw me, his eyes went wide. "Eleanor?" He gasped. "Not Mother." I hadn't earned that title with him. "Eleanor, my God." He didn't check the hallway for witnesses. He didn't ask why I looked like a wreck. He reached out, grabbed my freezing hands and pulled me inside. "You're freezing," he said, his voice thick with genuine alarm. Come in, sit down." His apartment was tiny. A studio really. A bed in the corner, a small kitchenette, a worn-out sofa. But it was clean. And it was warm. I don't know what happened, I lied, sticking to my script, though my heart was already hammering a different rhythm. "I lost everything, Lucas." Marcus turned me away. "Tiffany gave me $20. I have nowhere." Lucas looked at me and I saw a flash of anger in his eyes. Not at me, but for me they turned you away? He said quietly. In this weather? He shook his head and knelt before me, starting to untie my soaked shoes. It doesn't matter, you're here, you're safe. He took off my wet coat. He went to his closet and brought out a large flannel shirt and a pair of sweatpants. Put these on, they'll be big but they're dry, I'm going to make you soup. I changed in the small bathroom. When I came out, he had wrapped a blanket around the sofa and placed a steaming bowl of tomato soup on the small coffee table. I don't have much, he said, apologetically, looking at the simple food, but I can make up the bed for you. I'll sleep on the couch. No, Lucas, I said, my voice trembling for real this time. I can't take your bed, you're taking the bed, he said firmly, your family, and you look like you've been through hell. We sat and talked. He didn't ask for money. He didn't ask about the will. He asked about me. He asked if I was in pain. He asked if I remembered things. He treated me with a tenderness I hadn't felt in 20 years. I can't stay long, I said, testing him. I'm a burden, I have medical needs, expensive medicine. Lucas looked at me, his jaw set. We'll figure it out. I just picked up extra shifts at the garage. My boss likes me. I can work nights too. We'll get you whatever you need, but why? I asked. I wasn't good to you, Lucas. I ignored you. He looked down at his hands, rough and scarred from manual labor. You were my dad's wife, he said softly, and he loved you, and, well, no one deserves to be alone in the rain. Especially not you. That night, I lay in his bed. A simple mattress that dipped in the middle. Listening to him breathe on the couch a few feet away. I stared at the ceiling, tears streaming silently into my ears. I had found my child. I had found him in the boy I had discarded. The next morning, I woke up to the smell of coffee, but I also heard a voice. Lucas was on the phone in the kitchen area whispering. Yeah man, I know, he was saying. I know I said I'd never sell it, it's my baby. A 67 Triumph, restored it myself. My heart stopped. I knew that motorcycle, it was his pride and joy. His father had left him the frame and Lucas had spent 10 years rebuilding it. It was the only valuable thing he owned. How much can you give me? Lucas whispered. I need cash today, my stepmom. She's sick. She needs meds and I need to buy groceries. She's got nothing, man, her own kids kicked her out. There was a pause. 2,000? Come on, it's worth 5. Look, fine, just bring the cash by noon. I need to take care of her. He hung up. I heard him let out a long, shaky breath. I lay there, frozen. Marcus wouldn't let me ruin his aesthetic. Tiffany wouldn't let me ruin her party. Lucas was selling the only thing he loved to buy medicine for a woman who had barely acknowledged his existence for 2 decades. I closed my eyes as he walked over to check on me. I felt his hand gently touch my forehead. It's going to be okay, Eleanor, he whispered to my sleeping face. I've got you. That was the moment. The test was over. The results were in and they were devastatingly, beautifully clear. I waited until he went into the bathroom to shower. I sat up. I reached into the hidden pocket of my ragged coat and pulled out the burner phone Mr. Henderson had given me. My hands were steady now, the trembling was gone, replaced by a cold iron resolve. I dialed the number. Mr. Henderson, I said when he answered, it's time, bring the car, bring the papers, and bring the security team. Are you sure, Mrs. Vance? He asked, is it done? It's done, I replied, my voice hard as diamonds. I know who my family is now. Meet us here in 1 hour. We have an anniversary party to crash. I hung up. Today was the 50th anniversary of the founding of Vance Real Estate. Marcus and Tiffany were holding a gala at the Ritz-Carlton to celebrate the company. My company. And presumably to announce my retirement due to health reasons. They were going to toast to my legacy while burying me alive. Lucas came out of the bathroom drying his hair with a towel. He saw me sitting up, the phone in my hand. He looked confused. Eleanor? Who were you calling? Do you need help? I looked at him, really looked at him. I saw the kindness in his face, the strength in his shoulders. I stood up. I didn't hunch over, I didn't shake. I stood to my full height, chin up, the way I used to stand in boardrooms when I was about to close a $1 million deal. No, Lucas, I said, dropping the confused old woman act completely. My voice was clear, sharp, and authoritative. I don't need help, I need a suit. Do you have one? Lucas stepped back, his eyes wide. Eleanor? You sound different. I am different, I said, walking over to him and placing my hands on his shoulders. I am awake, and you are not selling that motorcycle. Call your friend back. Tell him the deal is off, but the medicine, the money, my dear, I smiled, a genuine smile that reached my eyes for the first time in years. You don't need to worry about money ever again. Now get dressed. We have a party to attend, and I want you standing right next to me when I walk in. He looked at me bewildered, trying to process the transformation. The senile old woman had vanished, the shark was back, and this time she was swimming for blood. The confusion on Lucas's face was heartbreaking, but I didn't have time to explain everything. Not yet. I simply told him to trust me, and because he is who he is, he did. He put on his only suit, a charcoal gray one he wore to weddings and funerals, a bit tight in the shoulders but clean and pressed. I stayed in my rags. It was crucial for the theater of what was about to happen. When Mr. Henderson's black limousine pulled up to the curb of that crumbling apartment complex, the entire neighborhood stopped to stare. Lucas looked out the window, his jaw practically hitting the floor. Eleanor, he whispered. Whose car is that? It's ours, Lucas, I said, opening the door. Let's go. The drive to the Ritz-Carlton was silent. Lucas sat opposite me, staring at the leather interior, then at me, then back at the car. I reached across and took his hand. His knuckles were white. Just follow my lead, I told him, and don't let go of my arm. We arrived at the hotel. The valet looked at the limo with respect, then looked at me. A disheveled old woman in a dirty coat stepping out of it. With confusion, but Mr. Henderson, my lawyer, stepped out first. He is a man who exudes authority. He nodded to the doorman, and like the parting of the Red Sea, the path cleared. The gala was in the grand ballroom. I knew the schedule. Marcus was due to give his speech at 1 p.m. It was 12:55. We walked through the gilded lobby. People stared. Guests in designer gowns and bespoke suits turned their heads, whispering behind their champagne flutes. Who is that beggar? How did she get in? I held my head high. Lucas walked beside me, his face set in a protective glare, daring anyone to say a word to me. We reached the double doors of the ballroom. I could hear Marcus's voice amplified by the microphone. And though my mother, the great Eleanor Vance, cannot be here today due to her declining health, we know she would want us to look toward the future, a future where Vance real estate continues to dominate under new, vigorous leadership. Applause, polite, enthusiastic applause for the son who was stealing his mother's empire. I looked at the two security guards at the door. They moved to stop us. Mr. Henderson stepped forward, flashing a document. This is the majority shareholder and owner of the company, he said. His voice like a whip crack. Open the doors. The guards hesitated, looked at me, looked at the document and stepped aside. I pushed the doors open. The room was vast, filled with 500 of the city's elite. Crystal chandeliers, towering floral arrangements, tables laden with silver and china. And there on the stage stood Marcus and Tiffany. They looked perfect, golden. The sound of the doors opening turned a few heads, then more. A ripple of silence spread through the room, starting from the back and rushing toward the stage like a wave. I walked down the center aisle. My worn-out shoes slapped against the polished parquet floor. Clack, clack, clack. Marcus stopped speaking mid-sentence. He shielded his eyes against the spotlight. When he saw me, his face went the color of old ash. Tiffany, standing next to him in a red strapless gown, dropped her glass. It shattered, the sound echoing in the sudden silence. Mother? Marcus breathed into the microphone. The word boomed through the speakers. I didn't stop until I was right in front of the stage. Lucas was gripping my arm so tight I thought he might bruise me, but he stood tall. Hello, Marcus, I said. I didn't need a microphone. I used my boardroom voice, the one that can strip paint off walls. Hello, Tiffany. I apologize for the interruption. I know how much you value your aesthetic. Tiffany's eyes darted around the room. She saw the shock on the faces of her sponsors, her friends, the investors. Mom, what are you doing? She hissed, leaning down from the stage. You're ruining everything. Security. Security works for me, I said calmly. Mr. Henderson? My lawyer stepped up onto the stage, flanked by two large men from my private security detail. He took the microphone from Marcus's limp hand. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Henderson announced, his voice smooth and professional. Please forgive the interruption. Mrs. Vance has a few words to say regarding the future of the company. He handed the mic down to me. I didn't take the stage. I stood on the floor, looking up at them. The symbolism was perfect. The beggar at the feet of the kings. My children told you I was sick, I began, turning to face the crowd. They told you I was confused, declining. And you know they were almost right. I was confused about who loved me. A murmur went through the crowd. Marcus looked like he was about to vomit. Yesterday, I continued, pacing slowly. I went to my son's house. I was cold, I was wet. I told him I had lost everything. I begged for shelter. I pointed a shaking finger at Marcus. He didn't offer me a towel. He didn't offer me food. He called me a beggar. He told me I would ruin his aesthetic. He tried to ship me off to a state facility so he wouldn't have to look at me. Gasps, honest, shocked gasps. I saw the investors from Tokyo exchanging dark looks. Then I went to my daughter. I pointed to Tiffany. She shrank back. She was hosting a party. She gave me $20 and told me to get out before I ruined her brand. She was more worried about her Instagram followers than the fact that her mother was freezing. In the hallway, Tiffany burst into tears. Mom, stop. Please. But then I said, my voice softening as I turned to the man beside me. I went to a boy I haven't been kind to. A boy I ignored for 20 years. A boy who lives in a studio apartment with peeling paint. I took Lucas's hand and raised it. Lucas didn't ask questions. He didn't care that I looked like a wreck. He gave me his bed. He slept on the floor, and this morning, my voice broke just for a second, with the sheer weight of the love I felt. This morning I overheard him trying to sell his motorcycle, his most prized possession, just to buy me medicine. He was willing to give up the only thing of value he had, for a stepmother who didn't deserve it. I looked back at the crowd. You all know me. I am a businesswoman. I deal in investments, and for 40 years I invested millions in Marcus and Tiffany. The return on that investment was zero. It was bankruptcy of the heart. I turned back to the stage. Marcus and Tiffany were huddled together, looking small and terrified. Mr. Henderson, please read the amendment. Mr. Henderson opened a blue folder. Effective immediately, the Eleanor Vance Trust is dissolved. All assets previously allocated to Marcus Vance and Tiffany Vance are returned to the principal estate. Furthermore, Marcus Vance is removed from the board of directors for conduct unbecoming of a company officer. You can't do this. Marcus screamed, his composure finally snapping. I built this company's modern portfolio. You're senile. I'll have you declared incompetent. I have a certification of full mental health from 3 independent psychiatrists, dated yesterday. I said coldly. Try it, Marcus, I have better lawyers than you. And the assets? I asked Henderson. The entirety of the estate, Henderson read, including the majority share of Vance Real Estate, the penthouse and the liquid assets, is hereby placed into a new trust, the sole beneficiary of which is. He paused. Lucas Vance. The room exploded. Lucas dropped my hand. He stared at me, his eyes wide, his mouth opening and closing. Eleanor. No, he whispered, I don't want it. I don't know how to run a company. I'm a mechanic. You are a good man, Lucas, I said, cupping his face in my hands, ignoring the chaos around us. You have a heart. We can hire people to run the company. We can hire accountants to count the money, but we cannot buy integrity. You have that, and that makes you the only one worthy of my legacy. I turned back to Marcus and Tiffany. Security was already escorting them off the stage. They were crying, shouting, making a scene. It was ugly, but it was necessary. Marcus. Tiffany. I called out. They stopped, looking back at me with hatred and desperation. I am not leaving you on the street, I said, because I am not you. Mr. Henderson has set up a small stipend for you. It is equal to the minimum wage. You will have a small apartment paid for. A studio much like the one Lucas lives in. You will have a chance to start over, to build something with your own hands. Maybe then when you understand what it means to struggle, you will understand what it means to be human. They were led away. The doors closed behind them. I looked at the crowd. The bar is open, I said dryly. Enjoy the party. I took Lucas's arm and led him out of the ballroom, leaving the stunned elite of the city behind us. We walked back to the limo. Eleanor, Lucas said, when we were alone in the quiet of the car. You can't be serious, all of it. All of it, I said, but on one condition. Anything. You keep the motorcycle, and you take me for a ride on it. I haven't felt the wind in my hair in 40 years. He laughed. A real bright laugh that sounded like the future. Deal. The aftermath wasn't easy, of course. Marcus and Tiffany sued. They went on talk shows crying about how their cruel mother had cut them off. They tried to paint me as a villain. But the story of the beggar test got out. The security footage from Tiffany's hallway, which Mr. Henderson subpoenaed, leaked. The world saw Tiffany slamming the door on her mother. They saw the truth. Marcus and Tiffany lost the lawsuits. They are currently living in the apartments I provided. Last I heard, Marcus is working as a junior analyst at a rival firm, and Tiffany is trying to sell skincare products online. They haven't called me, not yet. I hope one day they will, not for money but because they have learned. But I am not holding my breath, Lucas. Lucas flourished. He didn't quit the garage immediately. He finished his shifts because he didn't want to let his boss down. That's the kind of man he is. He used the money to start a foundation for elderly care, ensuring no one would ever have to face the indignity of being discarded. He learned the real estate business slowly with humility. The employees love him. He knows their names. He asks about their families. As for me, I live in a smaller house now. I sold the penthouse. It had too many ghosts. I live near Lucas. Every Sunday we have dinner. He cooks. I complain about the salt. It's wonderful. I realized something that night in the rain. We spend our lives building castles, thinking they will protect us. We fill them with gold and silver, thinking that is safety. But a castle with no love is just a cold stone tomb. The only true shelter in this world is the heart of someone who loves you. It doesn't matter if the roof leaks. It doesn't matter if the walls are peeling. If there is love there, you are safe. I almost missed it. I almost died in my golden tower surrounded by vultures. But thanks to a rainy night, and a test that broke my heart to save my soul, I found the son I didn't know I had. So my dears, I ask you tonight, look at the people around your table. Look at the ones you are pouring your life into. If the rain came, if the money vanished, if you were standing at their door in rags, would they open it? If you're not sure, maybe it's time to stop building the castle and start building the connection, because in the end you can't take the real estate with you, but love? Love is the only thing that walks with you out the door. Thank you for listening to my story. It wasn't easy to tell, but the truth rarely is. If you enjoyed this, please like the video and subscribe to Family Shock, and tell me in the comments, what would you have done in my place? Would you have forgiven them? I'll be reading. Until next time, stay safe and keep your hearts open.